Hi, I'm Brett and welcome back to Self-Reliance Australia. So this video today is about how to empty out your spa or your pool. Pool might be a really long time, but definitely you can use it for a spa. And as you go through, you probably think, well, this sounds pretty self-explanatory, but I have to admit that the first couple of times I actually tried to drain, I did drain my spa. I did it with buckets, and look, it was really hard work because the water was extremely cold, but it's just back-breaking work getting a bucket and emptying out, probably 1,000 litres of water. So after doing some research, I worked out that I can actually then siphon it out with a hose, and then it's progressed into the method I now use with some metal pipe on the end. So there are a couple of ways of actually getting the siphon to start in the first place. And in the video, you'll see the way I talk about it, I did it the first time because I had a helper. So my daughter actually came and gave me a hand. So what I did, I got her to hold the end with a copper pipe, and I got the other end hooked up to the bottom of the tap. And I didn't put a connection on it, I just held it up against the bottom of the tap and just pushed water through until water was coming out the other end. When water was coming out the end of the copper pipe, I got her to put that into the top of the spa, took the other hose off the tap end, put my thumb over it, and just dropped it down to a lower point, then it just starts to siphon out. Now the other way to do it is how I have done it the last few times, because I've been on myself, which is to feed the hose into the spa. So I do the copper pipe first, just feed it in, and allow the water to then feed up through the hose. And you'll know that the hose is full when there's no more air bubbles popping out, and you'll start to see it sink. So basically the weight of the hose will start to sink into the spa. Now that takes a little bit longer to do. Definitely not as quick, definitely not as easy, but it's still doable. And then once it's full, I either get an end stop of an end stop connection of a hose, which you can sometimes get, which you can get them fairly common from the hardware store. And then what I do, put that on, screw that on underwater, and then I'll pull it out, because I have to actually hop off my deck, walk around, and then grab the hose off the deck and then put it into a lower spot. And then when I get to the lower spot, I can just take that connection off and the water will start to flow through. So that's the two methods that I use to actually fill the hose up with water and get the siphon to start in the first place. Anyway, let's get into it. So here's our spa. Look, as you probably worked out, we are on tank water, so having a spa is a bit of a luxury. But we've got a fair bit of rain coming through over the next week. In fact, we've had about 3 inches of rain in the last 3 days, which is a lot. Our tanks are actually overflowing at the moment, so this is the time of year that I like to drain the spa and then refill it, because we do have that excess water available. And I do try to do that once a year, just to keep that spa water clean and healthy. So what I want to do now is work out how to siphon that out without obviously sucking a whole heap of green water into my lungs, because I actually have let it sit stagnant there for a couple of months as it's been rather cold, and that much water, which is, I know it's in a deck, but the cold air just hits that, and that water in that spa gets down to about 8 degrees Celsius. So it's fairly cold, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of gas, a lot of electricity to heat back up. So I haven't worked out a way to, I haven't made a way yet to heat it thermally just yet, although I do have some plans in mind. But the project for today is to drain that and then give it a good clean out probably tomorrow, and then fill it back up again. So I'm going to try to use that hose, piece of copper tube. I've actually got an end stop too for an end of a hose as well, so that's actually got a stopper in it. So the idea is I can fill that hose up with water, use the copper pipe to go in one end of the hose, and that'll give it some weight to go to the bottom of the spa, and then take the other end, take it out over the side of the deck here onto the grass, and hopefully down towards the paddock down there. Yeah, so you can tell that the grass is getting a bit long there, but we've had a couple of wet weeks, which has been sort of nice, but it has prevented me from getting out and cutting the grass. But grass aside, let's get this spa sorted out. Okay, that's probably worked out a little bit easier than I thought it would. You can see it's now coming out. I actually got some help this time, so normally I try to do it on my own, but so what I did actually had my daughter hold the end of the hose with the copper pipe on it, and put this end of the hose up to the tap, which is actually just on actually right next to the spa really, which was very handy. So I didn't have to go too far at all. And then when we had water coming out the other end of the copper pipe, got her to put that into the bottom of the spa. And then I just held the end of the hose here until I got to a level that was below the bottom of the spa. And as you can see, that is now draining. And that should take about 1,000 odd litres. This is a few hundred gallons. And look, that's going to take a few hours. It's only a little hose. So it's only a 12 mil, so a half-inch hose. This will take probably till tomorrow morning to empty out. So see how we go. So if you're wondering where I got the copper pipe from, I just went to local hardware. Look, I did have to buy a couple of meters of it because I didn't sell anything shorter than that. And unfortunately, I didn't really have anything lying around. So that cost me about $25, which sounds like a lot for something I didn't need much of. But gee, it saves a lot of back-breaking work getting there with a bucket and trying to get it out. Like I know in the past I have done it without the copper pipe on the end. I have to say this time, seeing it go down to the bottom and the weight of that copper holding it down looks like a good fix, so I think it'll be worth it. So actually that is siphoning out a lot quicker than I thought. That's down pretty much halfway already. It's only been probably about 2.5 hours or so, so that should be gone pretty close to dark. So what I'm doing, you might notice I've got a high pressure cleaner on the end of the hose there, like a high pressure nozzle. It's not a high pressure cleaner, it's just the nozzle. And I'm actually taking that mould off the side of the spa while it's still wet and easy to come off. And it's just making life a lot easier. Last time I know I actually didn't do that till after the end. I had to get a scrubber out and scrub it back, which just was a lot of work and a lot of elbow grease and doesn't go good with a bad shoulder. But anyway, it's looking a lot better. So I'll be able to give that a good clean now and see how we go. So you can tell it's amazing what 24 hours can do with the weather. It's now sunny. Still have a few showers coming through and here and there, but as you can see, the spa is a lot cleaner. It's been emptied and is now being filled up. But you can see in the tank there, or in the spa rather, there's a piece of copper pipe on the bottom. So I literally use that to siphon out the spa. But also all the algae that was sort of around the sides and the base, as that was siphoning out and emptying, I had the high pressure nozzle on the end of the normal hose. And I was just breaking that off and hosing it off, which saved an awful lot of physical work. But also it allowed me to then, when the water got to a certain level at the bottom, just suck it up using that nice hard nozzle on the end of the hose there with that copper pipe. So it actually worked out very, very well. I haven't had to get in there a scrubbing brush or a scouring pad at all to scrub it back. It's come up really well. Obviously there's a little bit of grass getting blown in there as we're filling it up, but that's okay. The filter will take care of that as it goes through the filtering process once we fill it all up. But as you can see, it's been a great result actually. So I'm really happy with the fact I put that piece of copper pipe on the end. It definitely made a big difference from the last time I did it. So definitely worth it. So there you go, another job is done. So look, I've had to use that a few times in the last few months because I've had some ongoing challenges with some pool fencing regulations. I've had to keep my spa empty, but we've also had a really, really wet winter. So the spa has actually filled up on me a few times. I had to keep siphoning it out and draining it out so it remains empty, so I'm compliant. But look, that does make life a lot simpler. I don't need to stay there watching it. It's easy when you've got the pressure nozzle on the hose. It's not a pressure cleaner as such, but it's a pressure nozzle on the hose, so it can up the, I guess, the output from the normal tap. And so you can just wash the mold. It's actually not even mold, it's all like a fungi, mossy thing that grows on it. But that makes it nice and clean, easy to do. Definitely a lot easier than letting it dry, because when you let it dry, it goes hard and then you have to scrub it. So having that nozzle definitely helps. But it just siphons itself off. You just keep an eye on it and hose it. And the more water then allows it breaks that moss down and it just softens all out. So look, it has worked out to be really, really handy. I actually keep that hose on top of the pump container. It's like a little pump house, I suppose, on the side of the house where the heater and the pump actually sits for the spa. So I just sit it on that, and that's where it lives. And it happens to be right next to that tap as well. So it works out quite well. Look, I hope that's been helpful. If it has and you've enjoyed that, please give it the big thumbs up. Also hit the subscribe if you haven't already, because I really do appreciate that. And I think this week we are at subscriber number 49. So thank you very much for everyone that has subscribed to the channel. And if you have enjoyed it, please share it with your friends. Until next time, I'll see you then.